One man's trash is another man's evidence. This is Hidden Killers with Tony Bruschi.
Yeah. Story out of Fairbanks, Alaska. I can't recall many out of Alaska, but, and I'm kind of surprised by that, honestly. You'd think there'd be more Alaska horrible murder stories. Why? Just because of the darkness, and just, sparseness of people? Wouldn't you think there'd be more up there?
Exactly.
That's a little weird, but this is pretty dark. This woman, 30-year-old, going to be spending the next several decades behind bars after admitting to suffocating both of her infant daughters in separate incidents, 2 years apart. I would argue maybe we should, hopefully, prison justice will take a stand here and get rid of her a little bit sooner.
Wrap my brain around it.
I think somebody should wrap something around her neck. On Monday afternoon, Superior Court Judge Patricia Haines sentenced Stephany Elizabeth Bilecki, formerly known as Stephany LaFountain, to 130 years in state prison with 85 years suspended. In total, Bilecki will serve 45 years behind bars. So she'll be out 60, 75? 75.
75.
Okay. I don't think that's
awesome.
Okay. Yeah, I don't think that's okay either. I mean, you killed your kids.
But I'd like her to sit in there for 45 years.
I just wish she would just mandatory death sentence for something like you killed your kids.
That's what she did to her kids.
On purpose.
They didn't have a chance.
Guess what? We're not going to even go to court. You're done. Thank you. Bye-bye. Upon release, she'll face up to 10 years of probation and will be prohibited from having unsupervised contact with minors until the age of 16 in non-public settings. Likely pled guilty in July. And she pled guilty, too, to second-degree murder for the deaths of her 4-year-old daughter, Chyanne, in 2015.
4-month-old daughter.
4-month-old.
Just a little girl. Yeah.
And 13-month-old daughter, Jasmine, who, it's over a year, in 2017. In exchange for her plea, prosecutors dropped the additional charge, including 2 counts of first-degree murder, which is exactly what it is. A mandatory minimum of both of those is, in fact, 20 years because this was her child in each case, Assistant District Attorney Elizabeth Crail said during the sentencing hearing. In both cases, Bilecki's patterns of behavior were disturbingly similar. In September of 2015, she alerted her boyfriend that her mother that her infant Chyanne was not breathing. Minutes before her grandmother's arrival, Bilecki phoned 911, initially ruled as likely cause of sudden infant death syndrome. The death was later found to be consistent with strangulation. Got to look at those things. You can't just assume. 2 years later, November of 2017, while her husband was deployed, Bilecki called her in-laws to say that her 13-month-old daughter, Jasmine, was not breathing. Again, just before the family arrived, she called 911. This time, investigators took a closer look. They discovered some damning internet searches on Bilecki's phone in the hours before the crime, including phrases like ways to suffocate and ways to kill a human with no proof. And can drowning show in an autopsy report? Days later, Jasmine died from lack of oxygen. With suspicions now heightened, authorities reopened the first daughter's case, ultimately charging Bilecki in August of 2018. Quote, just think about the mother killing both of her children over the past 2 years, completely isolated events, and what that means. Then Fairbanks Police Department Chief Eric Jukes said at the time, characterizing the acts as a horrific betrayal. At sentencing, Judge Haines adopted the state's recommended punishment, 65 years for each murder, with substantial portions suspended, totaling 45 years to serve. Prosecutors said while no amount of prison time can truly heal the wound left in the wake of these crimes, the sentence does bring a measure of justice. No, it doesn't. The conduct forming the basis of defendant Bilecki's convictions shocks the conscience, Fairbanks District Attorney Joe Dallery said in a statement. Although we cannot pretend that anything will ever make up for the losses suffered by the fathers of those 2 babies or the other family members, I do hope the convictions and the sentences imposed afford some measure of justice to the families of Jasmine and Chyanne and Fairbanks community at large. It doesn't. She should be dead. You can't do that. She should not be able to ever see the light of day, fucking period.
I am thankful that they went back and looked at the previous death.
Yeah.
And because, they've been thinking this whole time it was sudden death syndrome. when in fact she murdered her other kid.
Well,
and now she's paying for that. And I'm glad she is.
They just looked a little closer. They probably would have found that out right away.
I know. But with sudden death syndrome, and, it's just so tragic. And I know people who have experienced it in real life. It's, I'm going to guess that it kind of like you could suffocate a baby and kind of make it look like that.
Kind of makes you wonder.
If you look at the child closely, you would know.
It kind of makes you wonder. But if you suffocate the kid, you may not know. You may not really come out. I mean, if you do like something like if you're not like strangling,
Yeah.
I would imagine there's a lot of, it does make you wonder a little bit about how many SIDS cases are actually parents killing their children that they didn't want.
Because had she not done it to the second child, they never would have looked at the first child.
No.
She'd have gotten away with it.
And look, it sounds horrible, but there are just fucking people out there that are totally capable of doing this. Obviously, this story highlights one of them, but there's a lot of them out there that people that just do not connect with their children, and it's fucking weird, but there's something wrong, and if there's not anybody there to kind of keep track on that, people will do this sort of shit.
And what's up
selfish.
with all these people doing these searches on the internet from their phone or their laptop or whatever? Like, do they not realize they can go back in and find that? She's just watching Netflix and she's like, ways to suffocate.
I would be totally cool if we had something within Google or whatever you're using. And I would be able to be, it's an invasion of privacy. Well, then don't fucking search that sort of shit. I mean, there's no real logical reason why you'd be searching it unless it's, in some sort of a research fashion, I guess. But I would be totally cool if it like alerted somebody that somebody's searching for this. And then, people could come and take at least a wellness check and go, why are you searching for this? And if it comes up like it's totally innocent and there's nothing, okay. But I think you'd figure that out fairly quick in a lot of cases.
Because she searched ways to kill a human with no proof. Like, and it breaks my heart too, because she had these kids. She could have given them up for adoption. She could have told her family, like, look, I am not up to caring for these kids. There's something that could have been done. Well,
who knows? I mean, it could have been, extreme postpartum. I mean, it makes people think crazy shit. And it makes people not necessarily want to connect with their children. I've seen it in fucking person. And it's some fucking weird shit. And it's not the mother's fault either. I mean, it just happens. I'm not saying it's not her fault for this murder, but getting into those states, it just strikes and it's horrible. But
that could have been the case here, but you still, if you kill your kids.
Some people are just horrible. Some people just don't want kids and they come first no matter what. And if your kid gets in the way, they'll take them out or do whatever they deem they should be doing to suffice their own selfish way of living. And if that means death with some of these people, that means death. And they won't think twice. And it's scary, but it's fucking real. And I don't know. I think there should be a little more investigation into child deaths like this, because I think you're going to find something you don't want to find.
She got away with it for quite a while. Yeah. And I'm glad it caught up with her.
Yeah.
All right, true crime addicts, let's cut the crap. You're knee-deep in the gory details of your favorite podcast when suddenly a commercial hits like a bad meal. Seriously? You deserve better. Upgrade to True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts, where you can binge without those annoying ads. Plus, get extended interviews that go deeper into the darkness and early access to episodes so you can be the first to know. It's like trading up from fast food to fine dining, but with more blood. So, go ahead. Search for True Crime Today Premium Plus on Apple Podcasts. Subscribe and feast on the good stuff.